up, everybody? My name is Christopher Kidd. I am going to be your host for Different Covers. And you're probably wondering, what is that title, Different Cover? What does that even mean? Well, I'm a huge fan of football, NFL, college football, high school sports, you name it. But I also want to look into different things. And I was thinking, you know what? What's another way that I can talk about the NFL without saying, covering a team? Because right now I do work covering the Seahawks with a podcast called Seahawks Man to Man. I was thinking, what else can I do with it? And Thomas was thinking, hey, man, why not do something maybe with the NFL regarding wide receivers and DBs? And that's something that I do like to talk about. If you go look at some of my tweets from back in the day, I literally talk about route running, DBs, and certain coverage, whether it be man-to-man, zone, cover threes, cover two, hard flat, you name it. It's just something that I love to talk about. And why not have a show that's dedicated to nothing but wide receivers and defensive backs here on HNB Media Television, or TV as they call it. But without further ado, again, my name is Christopher Kidd, and I'm here to bring you guys different covers. And let's just jump right into it. I got a special guest with me today, and thanks to her for even taking the time to rock with me on this, because I think it's going to be fun, and I think it's something that you guys will enjoy. So without further ado, let's bring on the one and only Ashley. Ashley, what's up?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? What's up with you?
Just another day in the real sick Seattle. It's nice and sunny. We got a little fire stuff going on, but other than that, man, it's great. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm down here in the 305, the Yayo. We're running high off that Miami Heat going to the Eastern Conference Finals after last night, so it's a good day to be in Miami.
I feel you on that. Yes, Miami Heat are doing their thing. They were actually. I just want to say I called it. I just want to put that out there. I definitely everyone thought I was crazy. If they look at the comments underneath my reaction video that I did at the beginning of this series, it was comments like, you don't know basketball, Bucks in 4. Well, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. So no, that's dope, man. That's really cool, and that's awesome. But today, it's not going to be basketball. It's going to be football. And I know you know your way around sports. So I want to talk top 5 wide receivers in the National Football League. And that's always a fun discussion because there are so many talented wide receivers in this league. And to try to put them in a box and put them in a top 10 and top 5, it's actually challenging. It's not easy. I was up last night just thinking, man, this list is going to piss off a lot of people, or this list is going to be, he's not doing too bad. I mean, off whack, we just talked about, our top 3, because my biggest concern was we're going to hop on this show and we're going to have the same top 3 or top 5. And it's not even close.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it. So do you want to go first, or should I go first with my number 5 overall wide receiver in the National Football League?
I'll go first. Ladies first.
Perfect. Let's see what you got. Let's see.
So my number 5 is actually split. I couldn't decide who I wanted to put in the 5, so I'm doing a tie. So listen, because it was such a close margin for me, okay, I had to do it. So I have at 5 Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen. So I couldn't really decide because I feel like in a lot of aspects they're very similar.
Okay.
And but they're also different in a sense. So I love Keenan Allen's ability, especially on a Chargers team that did not produce the way they could have the years Phillip Rivers was there. And I said it was a travesty because at least when he was there, they were one of the most stacked teams ever. I feel like on paper, it's so much talent. It's the same way I feel about the Jacksonville Jaguars when they had those 5 Pro Bowlers, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Fournette, AJ Boye, whole squad, and how they weren't able to do anything with them. But Keenan Allen just has the athleticism. He has the ability. He's able to just get open. His route running is impeccable. But on top of that, I think it's something about his length that he's just able to just stretch up and catch those crazy passes. And it's the same thing that I feel like Amari Cooper started to show me in the last season with the Cowboys. There were those ups and downs, and I am a little bit nervous because he did not practice today in Dallas. He was doing resistant band workout. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I feel like Amari Cooper has that same kind of athleticism, and I'm really excited to see exactly how that manifests during the regular season this season upcoming. But they're close. I had to put them in the same slot number. I hate to do it, but there's something about those two that they had to be at 5.
No, I'm not upset at that. I understand. I mean, if it wasn't for Antonio Brown's situation, I would probably be in the same situation with 1A and 1B. I know off the field he's not the greatest human being, but When we're talking about on the field, he's really talented on the football field. But okay, I'm not mad at that. The only thing I would throw out there for Keenan Allen is one of my best friends is a Los Angeles Chargers fan, and he's been rocking with them for as long as I've known him pretty much. But my only thing was, man, Keenan Allen cannot stay healthy. I know he is talented. He's one of my I have a list of top 10 route runners. He's number 5 on my list. Like, I know the dude is amazing with his footwork and how he gets open because, A, he's not the fastest guy. If you watch him, you're like, well, he's 6'5" and he's slow. But his ability to create separation, he knows how to stop. He knows how to pick up speed again. He's really good at that. I have no problem with it. Now, Randall Cobb, you're giving him not Randall Cobb, excuse me. I'm thinking of another wide receiver, but
Amari Cooper.
I don't know if I could put him in the top 5, but I respect that. Amari Cooper is definitely Oh yeah, really. I mean, the guy who I'm rolling with is a touchdown machine, and you mentioned route running. This young man is a technician, and I'm going with Devonte Adams. And I'm really jealous with the NBA and how you guys get to pull clips because you guys are able to snag clips and post them and, oh, look at this amazing pass and look at this assist. Look at this defensive stop here by a player. NFL is greedy. They just they copy. But with that, I can't even show you how elite his route running is. I can go back to a game in the playoffs, the Seahawks against the Packers. Devonte Adams on a beautiful stop and go on Trey Flout. I mean, he is a technician. And then another post corner where he's going to sell the post, and then he hits the corner route for 6. I mean, Devonte Adams, he had to be number 5. Like, I know his production last season, he only had, I think, just under 1,000 yards. It wasn't all that great because of health issues and concerns. But for the most part, I think Devonte Adams is the 5th best wide receiver in the National Football League. And I think this season he's going to take that next step. And I mentioned before, he's a touchdown machine.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He's always in the end zone. He always finds a way to the end zone. And if I want to get a guy that's going to be number 5, I got to get a guy that's going to put points on the board. Like, when you step up against him, he's not going to outrun you 9 times out of 10. But you know what he will do? He can make it after the catch, make plays after the catch. And that's something that the Packers love about this man. I mean, he is just that talented. So I'm rolling with number 5, Devonte Adams. And look, if we're already disagreeing and we're one pick in, this is crazy.
That's a really good point, though, about the health factor, because that is one thing that is frustrating with both Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper is that their inability to stay healthy for what it seems like for a full season. I would say that Amari Cooper is a little bit better at it than Keenan Allen. I feel like Keenan Allen has been more injury prone throughout his career than Amari Cooper has. But I mean, Amari Cooper is a little bit younger. But that is one thing that is problematic for me and that I am worried about going into the season as a Cowboys fan. Is that, obviously we have the young stud CeeDee Lamb. We also have Gallup, again, another guy who struggled with injury. But Amari Cooper's wide receiver number 1. So I really need him to stay healthy for most of the season. Of course, you get little tweaks and bangs here and there in the regular season. It is what it is. But that is one issue that I can understand why people are like not putting him in the top 5 because he's injury prone. But, injury's part of the game, and I still got to give it to him. I got to give it to him.
That's my best petty right there. It's just like he's hurt all the time. Because, honestly, Keenan Allen I went back and forth. Keenan Allen, Devonte Adams. I ended up rolling with Devonte just because his route running is I think, is really elite. Like, if there was a number 4, Devonte Adams probably number 4, and then Keenan Allen number 5. But we're not talking about route running. We're talking about just best receivers in the game. So let's just jump to number 4. Who you got at number 4?
Number 4, I got to give it to who I think is one of the most explosive players, if not the most explosive player in the NFL. Number 4, I got to give it to Tyreek Hill out of Kansas City because, listen, the man is a cheat code, a walking cheat code. It's just unbelievable. First of all, his speed is incredible. I just think that his football IQ is astronomical, and he's fun to watch. I love watching wide receivers who are honestly just fun to watch. There's nothing wrong with being a wide receiver that goes by the book, but there's nothing like a wide receiver who just does amazing, immaculate, out of this world, things you see in Madden and my play. It's just Tyreek Hill is that guy, and I really feel like we're really going to see a lot more of him this season. I think that Patrick Mahomes and what they're doing out in Kansas City after winning the Super Bowl, I think we're just going to see a lot more crazy, just out of this world plays from him. I think Tyreek Hill is going to be at the center of it all. So I got to give it to my boy out in KC.
Well, will you look at that? Our first match of the day. I, too, have Tyreek Hill at number 4.
Nice.
I put in all caps when I was writing this out, speed. When you line up against him, I think other defenders get a little scared, like, damn, he might take the top off. Let me play 10 yards off, and it still happens. And the fact is, he can do it slot, outside, inside, it doesn't matter. He can be Edwards, XYZ. He can play all of those. And yeah, he's undersized, but he makes up with it with his speed. And I think he's a nightmare for defensive coordinators. When you get prepared for a game, there's Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, and right in the mix is Tyreek Hill. And I think that says enough for him to be a top 5 wide receiver. And no shot at Odell Beckham. I know he's, people are raining him through the internet right now for other reasons, which I'm not into. But I think he's in a new situation and things just haven't been right for him, to be honest. And someone else like Tyreek Hill has made a Pro Bowl every year he's been in the league. Now, I get it. His first year he made it, return specialist. I get it. But after that, he really tapped into, okay, I can actually be more than just return specialist. I can be a wide receiver. And I think he's taking that next step. So we agree. Wow, look at that.
And I think it's also important to remember he can rush a couple yards too if he has to. I think a lot of people forget he's more than just a guy who can catch it in the outfield or, down in the red zone and things like this guy can rush if he has to. I mean, the stats are there. So it's just he's a rare wide receiver because he can do so many different things. And I mean, if it weren't for my top 3 just being like the creme de la creme, he would honestly break the top 3.
Oh, okay. Well, we're getting closer. Let's start with number 3. Who do you have at number 3?
Okay, people are probably going to go crazy when I say this because they're like, how dare you? But number 3, I got to give it to Julio Jones. I got to put him at 3.
Wow.
I'm putting him at 3 just because my top 2, I just feel like the future is in their hands still. And listen, it's no disrespect to Julio Jones. If I could tie for first place, I will. But I'm looking at it from a perspective of the future of the wide receiver. Not Julio Jones will go down in history as one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game of football, period, point blank. But I'm looking at it also from a perspective of what does the future hold? Who's going to carry that torch? And there's 2 guys ahead of him, I feel like, who are already kind of getting that ball rolling. But Julio Jones, I mean, you can't have a list without Julio Jones. He is just like, I don't think I've ever seen him catch something that I wasn't like, how the hell did he do that? Like, I don't think I've ever been not surprised by a Julio Jones catch. And that is so rare to have that consistency, to be able to do it every single season. And especially we have to give him credit because look at it. I mean, the Falcons, yes, they went to the Super Bowl and that was a catastrophe. But I mean, he's really seen that Falcons franchise through the ups and the downs and has still been able to produce. I mean, he doesn't have a Tom Brady as his quarterback. He has a Matt Ryan who, on paper is probably just, an average quarterback, maybe a little bit above average. But he's still able to produce. And I think that's really what makes him such a special player is that his scenario, his environment doesn't really dictate his productivity. And that is why I'm always such a huge Julio Jones fan.
Okay. Well, we disagree there because my number 3 is going to be the man that just signed a huge deal in Deandre Hopkins, who just secured the bag at $54.5 million. And that includes 42.75 guaranteed. He is one of the most physical wide receivers I can remember. I mean, I know Mike Evans is pretty physical, but he's kind of a one-trick pony. No disrespect. He's just good at going downfield and snagging it. Whereas Deandre Hopkins can do it all. He can run over the middle for you. Yeah. He can run all the routes on the route tree. He's just that talented. And he makes ridiculous catches. I mean, you talk about Julio with some of his catches. Deandre Hopkins has been doing that forever. And you know what? He does it with guys that play quarterback that are terrible, like myself. If I was throwing him the ball, he'd make me look good. And I'm not even good at quarterback. That's to show how elite he is. And he comes at number 3. I'm sorry. So who is your number 2? Now that I know Julio has been disrespected and demoted to number 3, who is number 2?
My number 2 is the man Hopkins himself, South Carolina's very own. And it was a close tie between him and my number 1. The only reason that I gave Hopkins number 2 is for a lot of the things that you said, but also I feel like my number 1 pick is just the wide receiver in the NFL. So it was a very small margin, but listen, DeAndre Hopkins never met a ball he couldn't catch, let's be honest. And I think that when you are that dynamic of a wide receiver, you can't help but make your quarterback look good. And I think it's the same thing he did with Watson in Houston. And it's going to be interesting to see how Houston adjusts without him, because that was his receiver number 1. And I don't think that they replaced him with anybody to his caliber. Let's be honest. They replaced him with a bunch of guys that were not even a fraction of the player that he is. But it's going to be interesting, and I'm excited to see exactly what he's able to give Kyler Murray out in Arizona, because Kyler Murray has been missing that one guy, that reliable guy, and DeAndre Hopkins is reliable every single that he produces. I think he's only missed 1 catch in last season, or 2 catches last season. Like, it's unbelievable, his stats. And I think also his athleticism. If you watch him train, he does a lot of like things like Pilates and balancing, and it's a lot like Kamara's routine, where they do a lot of those balancing and things to keep them limber and to keep them lean, and a lot of yoga and things like that. And it shows, because a lot of guys would think, just pumping weights and running routes is enough. But a lot of people don't know that to be a wide receiver requires to be a great one anyway, an exceptional amount of balance. And you can see it when he tiptoes, right on the sidelines without going out of bounds. And you can see the dedication to his craft. And I'm really just excited that he got the money that he wanted. It's unfortunate that Houston couldn't do it for him. But DeAndre Hopkins is, again, another cheat code, and you can't have a list without him.
That's true. You can't have a list. The one thing we both have in common, we have him on this list. So we're doing pretty good. Number 2 for me, I'm going to go with the guy that just set a new record for receptions last year with 149, destroying Marvin Harrison's record, and Michael Thomas. And his Twitter handle it speaks for itself. He can't guard me. It is what it is. Can't guard Mike. And my number 1 guy, you guys probably already know who that's going to be. But number 2, I just feel like he still has another level to get to. I don't know what level that is, because I feel like he can do almost everything. But there's just some things that I think my number 1 guy can do that he just can't do yet. And that's okay. He's going on his 4th year, I believe, in the NFL. He has plenty of time. The guy that's number 1 is going in his 9th or 10th year. There's levels to this. It's almost a LeBron James comparison against Giannis or whoever else you want to throw at him. I personally think LeBron is still the best in the league, but I'm not going to be mad at someone that says I'm going with the younger guy, a.k.a. Thomas. I'm going with Giannis Antetokounmpo or Luka Doncic, which is ridiculous, or Zion's going to be better, whatever the case may be. I'm just going to go with Michael Thomas at number 2, 1,700 yards last season. Ridiculous, I know, but I still believe there's just one more player that he just edges him out just because of how long he's been doing it and how efficient he's been doing it. And you talk about Michael Thomas's ability to catch passes and how he does it. I mean, he's incredible to watch. And I'm excited because the NFL is just, 30-something plus hours from kickoff?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So who's your number 1?
My number 1 is your number 2. Michael Thomas is coming in at number 1. Listen, he's 6'3", 212 pounds, which if I had to create my perfect wide receiver, those would be his measurements. I mean, first of all, best in the league out of the slot, best in the league on the slants. I mean, he is just incredible. And I think also what people don't realize about Michael Thomas is that he's one of those wide receivers that trick you into thinking he can only do one thing. That he's only good in one aspect of the game. And then you see him lined up in a play that, Sean Payton organizes or whoever's calling the play that down. And he just surprises you and does something completely different than what you thought he was going to do. And I think that's what makes him so explosive. Michael Thomas is I think he has the best hands in the NFL. I'm putting that above DeAndre Hopkins, who I think has incredible hands. But Michael Thomas, I mean, it's just, I don't know if his hands are made of like Post-its or crazy glue or whatever the case may be, but I'm just really excited to see. And the thing is with Michael Thomas is he's so good and he's still so young. So it's going to be exciting to see how he continues to build on this talent. Now, of course, one or two things can happen. He can either continue to get really good, or he can go back if he ever had to leave, the Saints and went to a different situation. You know how the football world works and business is business. But I think if he can stay in this New Orleans system, or if he ever leaves and goes to a system that's similar, I think we've only begun to see Michael Thomas scratch the surface of what he can do as a wide receiver. And it's honestly like, I remember when Odell came out for the first time, and I watched Odell when he was at LSU, but the first game I ever watched him play for the Giants, and mind you, I'm a Cowboys fan, so it wasn't the greatest experience, but I was like, holy crap, like this guy is insane. I had that same feeling the first game I ever watched Michael Thomas play. I was like, this guy is not from this planet. So I gotta give it to Michael Thomas at number one, because there's only one way to go, and it's up for him.
Woo, Michael Thomas. I'm gonna go.
Can't guard Mike, okay? Can't guard him.
I'm gonna go with Quintorris. Did you know that's his real name?
I did know this is his real name.
Yeah, I found out last year his real name, and I was blown away. And my friend, my host, co-host of the show that we do, he was like, "You didn't know that?" I was like, "Bro, I had no idea. I thought his name was Julio."
Yeah, no. Quintorris. That's his real name. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
So yeah, if you're listening, you didn't know his real name, I just gave it to you. There it is. But I'm gonna go with Julio Jones, and I talked about his age. He's 31, but the one thing that I think makes him so special is the fact that he has a combination of two receivers that are actually on our list. He has the quickness and speed of a Tyreek Hill, and he has the strong physical features of a Michael Thomas, and he can do everything Michael Thomas can, pretty much. I mean, if you want to change his name to "You Can't Guard Me" as well on Twitter, I'll sign off on it. I really would.
He can.
Yeah. Holla at me when Michael Thomas has a game where he has 300 yards. Did we forget about that? The man had 300 yards on 12 catches. I'm just going to leave it at that. If Michael Thomas had done that, we'd have a serious debate.
But who were they playing that game?
They were playing the Panthers with Cam Newton. So it wasn't like that, and they had Luke Kuechly. So he Julio is not to mess with. And now we're really pulling hairs here. So yeah, let's not act like Julio is just this far ahead, or exactly went off the screen. He's not that far ahead of Michael Thomas. He's right there on him. And I think this season he could potentially pass him up as the number one wide receiver. But right now, I'm taking Julio Jones as my number one wide receiver, 31 years old, still doing the damn thing. And I'm excited to see what he does this season. Even as you mentioned, Matt Ryan, who's kind of average quarterback, and you have a stud wide receiver, and Julio's still out here doing the damn thing. Let Julio play for Drew Brees. Just throwing that out there.
Listen.
What if scenario?
I will give you that, because I look at it, and these lists are cool for this very reason, because it shows you how people categorize things and the level of the hierarchy of importance. See, for me, I look at it as the future of the NFL, the future of the position. So my list is really geared towards, okay, this is where the future is headed. So Michael Thomas, yours is looked at, this is what I've done. Julio Jones, I don't care how old he is, he's going here. But I will give you that if Julio Jones had a Drew Brees or a Tom Brady or, an Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, I think the stats would be astronomical. Like, the stats would be ridiculous. But He does have a Matt Ryan, so, sometimes the games are a little bit topsy-turvy and the seasons go like this and things like that. But it is got to give credit where credit is due. It is hard to produce, like I said, consistently. And it was the only reason I gave him number 3 was, again, because I look at it towards the future. But it is hard to produce consistently the way he has when you have a quarterback. And let's not even put all the pressure on Matt Ryan, because for a lot of seasons, the Falcons did not have a good offense. Like, in any aspect. Like, offensively, they are just a disaster. So it is interesting that he's been able to consistently produce for so many years. And I mean, 31's not old. I know it's old in football, but listen, it's old in football, but it's not old.
You're right. Old in football. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But there it is, ladies and gentlemen. A little taste of what this not podcast, but I guess we can put it on the podcast. Either way, of what this show is going to be about. Football stuff, DBs, and wide receiver related. I think now we might tap into the top 5 future wide receivers that we are looking forward to seeing. Maybe that's something we can come back and do later on. But other than that, I want to thank you again for taking the time to rock with me on my first episode of Different Covers, hosted by myself, Christopher Kidd. You can follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206 and that's CKID206. If you could give a plug to where they can find you or anything else you want to shout out, knock yourself out.
Make sure you guys follow me at Nicole Moss on Twitter and Instagram, and just keep a lookout for all my content on HNB Media, and follow my channel too, All In with Nicole.
There it is. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will catch y'all later. We out.